Imagine this. You're all cozy on the couch. You flip over to Netflix and you put on an episode of Avatar The Last Airbender to get you through the week. Most people always pick the same ones: the Crossroads of Destiny, the Siege of the North, and the Great Divide. Nah, obviously I'm joking on that one. We don't talk about that one. Avatar is full of legendary episodes that everyone remembers, but a lot of the others get swept under the rug. They're not talked about nearly as much, even though they have just as much heart, world building, and character depth. So in today's video, we're breaking down 5 underrated episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender that I feel don't get enough love as they deserve. Welcome back to the Casual TV channel, and let's jump right into it. Underrated episode number 1, The Runaway. Now I'm putting these in no particular order, but this episode sometimes gets overlooked because it's sandwiched between 2 lore-filled episodes: the Avatar and the Fire Lord, where we learn about Zuko's true heritage, and the Puppet Master, where bloodbending is introduced. But quite honestly, I think this is a perfect episode to place in between these two, because The Runaway might be the funniest episode in the entire series. There are moments when they continually show Toph her mugshot that she can't see.
Well, it sounds like a sheet of paper, but I guess you're referring to what's on the sheet.
And not to mention how Sokka reacts to the drawing.
Is there a picture of me? Does it look good?
Well, yeah, actually, it does look pretty good.
Then you've got Sokka and Aang writing fake letters to Katara from Toph, completely forgetting that she's blind and can't write. The humor in this episode is non-stop, but it balances that comedy with some really heartfelt moments too. One of the most powerful comes when Sokka opens up to Toph about losing his mother in the Fire Nation raid. You've heard Katara's side of that story before, but this one is one of the rare times we hear how it affected Sokka. With the laughter that is in this episode, this moment between Toph and Sokka brings you back down to earth and might make you shed a tear with them. And to top it all off, the episode finishes strong with an action-packed fight against Combustion Man, plus Katara discovering sweat bending for the first time. The Runaway takes you through a full range of emotions: funny, heartfelt, and intense. And it's a perfect example of what makes Avatar The Last Airbender so great: the characters. Staying at book 3, we have the Headband episode. This is another fun one I always turn on when I'm feeling down, and it's not just because Aang throws a banger in the cave at the end of the episode. This episode is our first real look at life inside the Fire Nation itself, not just the influence we see in Earth Kingdom. We get to see how strict the Fire Nation system is, how rigid its leaders are, and how propaganda shapes young kids into believing their nation is the greatest. For Aang though, this episode hits differently. Ever since he learned about Sozin's comet, he's been locked into a non-stop Avatar duty, focused only on bringing balance to the world, forgetting that he's a 12-year-old boy. But here, for once, he gets to just be a kid again. He builds up some confidence in the students around him. He stands up to the bullies, challenges the teacher's authority, and he throws a crazy party and dances like he's on Dancing with the Stars. What makes this episode so great is that Aang actually influences the next generation of Fire Nation kids. He shows them that it's okay to be different, to express themselves, and to question the rules they're being taught. Instead of thinking like Fire Nation students, he helps them think like free air nomads. Moving on to number 3, the Winter Solstice Part 2. This is where the whole show gets kicked off. Anything before this was just character development. Now the story gets its legs and starts sprinting towards the finish line. It's a tense episode, with a huge time crunch hanging over the gang as they try to sneak through the Fire Nation blockade. And Zuko finds himself in the same situation, albeit his is a little more dangerous in my opinion. When Aang finally sneaks into Roku's room, we get this awesome moment between Aang and Roku meeting for the first time. Aang was finally not alone as the Avatar, and he finally gets the guidance he's been searching for. What's even more fascinating is that Roku has essentially been waiting in the spirit world for 112 years just for this moment. Roku then lays it all out for Aang, telling him about the true threat at the end of the story. From that point forward, you get to feel the momentum build. We're anxiously climbing the hill, and we were not disappointed. And then, the cherry on top. Roku takes over Aang's body in the Avatar state, unleashing a massive wave of destruction that wipes out the entire temple. It's one of the first truly jaw-dropping moments in the series, the kind that hooks you instantly. When the sage says,
"Avatar Roku,"
and then the music hits, it gives me chills every single time. Once you watch this episode for the first time, you truly become an Avatar fan. Episode number 4 is The Blue Spirit. Now I'll admit, I'm a little biased on this one because it's my favorite episode in the entire show. We get Aang on a solo adventure where he's captured by the Fire Nation, and the whole time you're wondering, how is he going to bend his way out of this one? And here comes this mysterious figure, someone who doesn't look like he's a bender, carrying around a bucket of water and some swords. But he breaks Aang free, and the two of them fight their way out of the Fire Nation stronghold together. The whole time you're thinking, I can't wait for this guy to join Team Avatar. And then he gets hit with an arrow, his mask comes off, and it's Zuko. The same Zuko everyone is supposed to hate, the guy who burned down villages, chased Aang across the world, and swore to capture the Avatar. But here he is, the one who just set Aang free. I think what makes this episode great is the ending scene between Zuko and Aang. Yes, the fight scenes are fun. Aang literally uses a spear as a helicopter is crazy. But it's the final scene between Aang and Zuko that takes it to the next level. It ties the whole show together. Zuko is conflicted. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just freed the Avatar from the Fire Nation prison only to try to capture him himself. Aang, on the other hand, is confused by how much the world has changed in the last 100 years. And then he asks Zuko the one simple question.
If we knew each other back then, do you think we could have been friends too?
It's a beautiful moment, one that foreshadows the payoff at the very end of the series, when Zuko and Aang are no longer enemies, but true friends. That final hug after they defeat Ozai and Azula feels even more meaningful. And last but not least, number 5 is Bitter Work. This episode is a gem. It has the comic relief moments like Sokka bonding with Fufu Cuddly Poops, and Zuko absolutely butchering Iroh's tea. But beneath the humor, it digs deep into the mindset of our characters. We get a powerful flashback to Iroh's past with his son, which gives us better understanding on why he's so determined to guide Zuko down a different path. Meanwhile, Aang struggles with earthbending. As an airbender, his natural instinct is to dodge, avoid, and evade, looking for another angle. But earthbending demands the exact opposite: stubbornness, confrontation, and standing your ground. Toph embodies that perfectly. It's one of the first times in this series we see Aang truly struggle, especially after how quickly he picked up waterbending. This episode also gives us one of Iroh's great speeches about how learning from all 4 nations makes someone stronger, not just the Avatar. He proves this by teaching Zuko how to redirect lightning, a move inspired by the waterbenders. By the end, Aang finally adopts the earthbender mentality. He stands up to the giant saber-toothed moose lion, and more importantly, stands up to Toph, achieving the earthbending status that he needs to fulfill his Avatar destiny. And then we get a top 5 scene in the whole show, where Zuko screams at the universe, asking for them to answer his call. It's powerful, and heartbreaking at the same time, showing that Zuko's very much at his breaking point. This episode is thrown into the middle of Book 2 to demonstrate the struggles for Zuko and Aang, and try to change their mentalities going forward so they can both be stronger benders and leaders. And that's my list for 5 underrated episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender. They may not always make the highlight reels, but each one brings something special. Whether it's character growth, world building, or just a perfect balance of humor and heart. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future Avatar content. I've also dropped links down below to some of my other videos if you want to keep the Avatar binge going. Let me know in the comments what you think is the most underrated episode in Avatar The Last Airbender. Maybe it's one I missed, or maybe you agree with the list. Thanks for tuning into the Casual TV, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.